think now is the right time for No Devotion to put out a new record because it's been ready to come out for a couple years, but the pandemic pushed everything back. We gave it a few years rest after Permanence came out.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all went through a lot around that time. It was very chaotic. So really the thing that brought us back into it, we didn't know if we wanted to keep doing it. We thought, one record that you're really proud of is pretty good. Maybe leave it there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was like one and done.
One and done, baby. Yeah, we were all kind of excited about this is cool. Some people will find it, people will talk about it, but that's it, And then Stu sent me the song that would become Starlings, the first song on this new record, and it's just like I just couldn't stop. I loved it. I was so in love with it that I just remembered how much I love writing with these guys, and we just
it was really easy to get back into, right? And then I started touring with Thursday as well, so we were hanging out more and more.
Yeah,
and it just felt like a good place to just kind of start a conversation again. Where it just felt really easy. It took a while to get it all together, but
yeah,
we were waiting until it felt right. That was really the only really requirement we had was they had to feel good to us.
Yeah, I mean the majority of the record was written in 2 weeks, which is a crazy experience.
I liked it about 4 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, it was like we did everything we could to turn it upside down, turn it inside out, edit it, change this, change that. Put in real drums, take out real drums, put in different real drums.
We tried everything. Yeah, we were just having fun, and we weren't sure who was in the band at that point and who was doing what. So we kind of had to kind of recontextualize what No Devotion was. You know what I mean? And kind of figured it all out. So yeah, it was.
But we knew the songs were there, and we loved the songs. It's a short album; it's 8 songs. So we tried writing extra songs for it, and it just didn't. There was something about it being compact and very, very specific about what type of a record it was that it just needed to be this short little doom pill of a record,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just felt right. So
I think the amazing thing about how catastrophically the events unfolded for the first record, where it went out of print basically the week that it came out, really took off any pressure because going into that record, it was like, well, BBC says they're going to play this single and they love this song and you're going to end up on this tour. And then when the song's charting, you're going to do this. It was like kind of everybody was ready for it to be this massive record. And then when the label fell apart the week that it came out, and by the time we were winning awards for the record, it was already out of print. Once that happens, it takes all the pressure off because,
feels like a new band almost.
Yeah, the best laid plans can so easily be washed away like a sandcastle on the beach, So at that point, once you realize that, there's a freedom that comes with losing all the pressure. And like Stu said, it's like a new band.
Yeah.
And
we're always, just like Geoff said, just no pressure at all. Just coming at it, just enjoying creating with your friends, enjoying not having to worry about genres or, trying to hit any marks or trying to do anything which is expected from you. Just being completely free and just expressing yourself as openly as possible without any kind of worry of what people would think, which was, it's pretty, from our careers, we're always kind of, like you said, you're always trying to keep things moving, So for this, it was just great just to be creative.
There's so this was the first music I had tried making sober. And, in the first year when we were starting to make the record, and I was still new to sobriety and it was still really hard. And every night I would lie in bed thinking about I could wait until my partner falls asleep and go out and cop a bag of heroin tonight. I would be thinking that. And then I'd think, but if I die before this record comes out, then people will never really know who I am. Because I knew that this record was it was who I am in my most secret part of myself. It's the most true to if you took away where I grew up, if you took away, the kind of hardcore scene that I grew up in, if you took away all the friends that I grew up with in Thursday, if you took away, all of that, if it was just who I am deep down, I knew this record was the only time I had ever really let that out. And so I just kept saying well, I can't I can't let myself go out and cop tonight because I'll definitely get fentanyl or something and I'll die. And then this record won't come out and then nobody will really ever know who I am. And so like, it helped me stay sober through that first year, just the idea that I had to finish this record first. And now that it's taken years and I have, you know, almost 5 years under my belt, it's like I'm in a much safer place. And it's this, in a real way, this record helped me stay alive. Well, I think when we finally got in the studio together, the thing that I remained just incredibly inspired by is that when I play with Stu and Lee, it just happens. Like we just, our minds point in the same exact direction. And I think in our other bands, there'd be a lot of balancing going on where it's like one person wants to go this way, one person wants to go that way. And you meet up at some weird place eventually through fighting out the songs. And it's cool because everybody agrees, like, this is a good spot. You know, maybe it's not the vision that any single one person had for the song. Whereas with No Devotion, there's no balance.
Yeah.
We don't fight it. It's just like, you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little too easy, which makes it scary.
It does make
it scary.
Because,
we're so used to, like, good things come from, strife and trouble, so when it comes together so easy, it's like, is this any good? And you just have to trust yourself, and like Geoff said, this is also my personal kind of, this is who I am as well, this is my tombstone, you know what I mean? This is who I've always been all along, and this is, I'm so glad to share this with people, and if people don't like it, then it's okay, because at least they know who I was the whole time, you know what I mean? Like, my truth is out there, Like, I've always been drawn to this kind of music, and this has always been, how I want to express myself. So to me, this is, the greatest opportunity I've had, and I'm just glad to share with everybody. I'm glad to do with this guy too, and Lee, So it's so cool to find people like who are just so like-minded, and so I never thought it'd be that easy, So.
Yeah, it's
so you think it'd be a really happy record,
right?
So easy, but no, but there's this shared trauma and this shared, we're not afraid of our hearts on our sleeves, and I think that's really where this record comes from, and some people might find that hard and to like listen to, and they might wish it sounded like some of our older bands, but you go listen to the older bands,
Yeah, I mean, those records still exist,
Yeah.
Like our past is still there, and we'll keep making other kinds of music too. Like, this isn't like, some people think like, oh, now they sound like this. It's like, well, yeah, that's who I am right now, but like, who knows what'll happen next?
Maybe, the next record could be crazy.
Could be a Slayer record, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just really, the great joy of making this record for me is like hitting an age where we're still we're young people, but we're not young musicians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For music, it's like being an athlete, you have to be so young. And so like, this is practically like getting older type of record, where I look up to all the artists that I've truly loved in my life, people like PJ Harvey and Nick Cave, Trent Reznor, Robert Smith. They have these transitional records that some people find quite difficult at the time.
Yeah.
But then when they get into their later years, to say, oh, I got it. That was the first thing they were doing like this.
Yeah.
And now in context, it all makes a lot of sense. And I think this is a very transitional record for us too, into like being like, okay, we're lifers. This is the beginning of our later records. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know you've got the answer to this.
Yeah, the lyric guy over here. Yeah. So, one of the things that I've always been sort of fascinated about, when we started No Devotion, we had a lot of people around us saying like, but wait, you guys are so devoted to music. Like, isn't the goal of this like devotion, like a literal devotion? And my answer to that is that the subconscious doesn't recognize negatives. There's no in the subconscious. So even though there's this sort of like bleak, nihilistic looking title, No Devotion, the underneath layers of your psyche receives the devotion. And so it's kind of like a little bit of a Trojan horse. And I think that it's sort of the opposite with this title. It's a mirror. Both No Devotion and No Oblivion are 10 letters. So they're these like mirror phrases. And No Oblivion sounds very dark, as a collection of words, but it's super bright. It's a rejection of nihilism. It's a rejection of letting yourself dissipate into your problems, whether it's, psychological, getting eaten alive by your demons, by drugs, by, there's so many things that you can let yourself lapse into. But I also like the idea that the sound of the title, No Oblivion, does have a sort of like blissful, it's kind of like almost like when you hear a great shoegaze song, it's like you dissolve into the words and it washes over you and music becomes a part of you, goes in all your pores and all your synapses is filled with this flood of sound.
And that song actually as well
and
sounds like that.
And that song sounds like that. So I had this idea of, the rejection of negativity being this euphoric burst towards life, no oblivion. So we have this beautiful designer who does all the the No Devotion album artwork. He did the first record. He did all the singles collections that we did before the first record. His name's Sean Durkin, and he plays in this amazing group Weekends, who were on Slumberland's, like a sort of classic shoegazy label. And he plays in Soft Kill now too, which is a cool band. But Sean, he has this really great eye, and he knows he's like, he's sort of like the musically Stu and Lee and I are all on the same page. If you bring in the visual element, Sean's right there with us. And he brought us like 28 covers when we asked him to do a cover, and they were all so good. Like, we were literally like, I don't know, could be this one, be this one. But ultimately we loved, like you said, that nod to 80s records. We love the simplicity of it. There's something about it too that reminds me of like that, the imagery from the Exorcist posters. If you remember, there was like that window with the light coming down on the priest, just so stark. And I love the idea of, everything is darkness and there's one little tunnel and you can't see what's through it, but it's like you have to go down there, and it's both scary and hopeful at the same time. I just really love that with the title. On some level, there's probably for me a little bit of like, it's the first thing that I heard from the record. I heard basically when Stu had it, it was piano. It was like a Rhodes piano, I think.
Yeah, it was a arpeggios on there.
And like a swingy, drum part under it.
Jazz beat kind of thing.
Yeah. And I just, it had also like there was, I don't know if it was a sample or if it was something that was outside his window, but there was all this rain falling over the piano stuff. And I would just listen to it, and it was so hypnotic. It was the thing that brought me back into the band. So I thought, well, what a great way to bring people back into the band. It's give them that same feeling that I had, which was this drawing in.
I remember it was like an 8-ball loop basically. And you came in and you had a verse and chorus over the same thing. So we just kind of beefed up the chorus a little bit. Some really like disgusting guitars on it.
Yeah.
Just to make it feel just like the wind is getting sucked out of it. The air is getting sucked out. And then it was really easy to write. I think I had all the arrangement written like in 20 minutes. I just sat down and had the 3 chords, and then wrote all the arpeggios, and kind of once he had the vocal, I just arranged it all real quick. Then Lee came in and put those big nasty guitars on. And we kind of wanted to go out on a kind of really pretty French sounding kind of outro,
Absolutely.
So we kind of, we did that. And then I was always like, there should be a bridge, there should be a pre-chorus. It was like, no, the song's done, which is hard for me to let go of as a producer. I was like, did we finish this song? But then, once it was done, then I was like, this song this is it. This is the ultimate expression.
Yeah. Songs will reveal what they need, even if it's not what they're supposed to have, which is a great, like from a compositional standpoint for pop music, like the supposed to have is very helpful. It's not
great to have a framework.
It's not a bad thing, but not everyone's going to have that same framework. And the thing that I really loved about it too, as something emblematic of this record, I think, is that, the first record, Permanence, we were very conscious to not cross the streams to any of our older work. We wanted it to stand on its own and be its own piece of art and its own kind of sound and its own, everything about it should be its own thing. It shouldn't dip into the wells of the previous work. And this one, I think, we already had established what No Devotion was. And so we let ourselves really be who we are. And that means that there is going to be parts that remind people of Thursday. And I think that chorus, like, does anybody else know how I feel? It's very like, it recalls back to like Understanding a Car Crash. It's like got that big emotional pleading type of a feel to it. And I started to say, that's okay. That's who I am too. You know what I mean? That's not Thursday. That was in me before it was in Thursday. And so Absolutely. I can carry that with me to who I am. And I think we all feel a lot more naturally, we're allowed to do what we want to do at any time. There's no like, we know where the borderland of the country is, and we can stray inside and out of it.
And that was another song where I think we were kind of really getting soundtracks at that point. And when we were writing the record, we'd have films on loops the whole time in the background. We'd have the lights low, and we'd just write stuff and just movies playing in the background the whole time. So it kind of going out on more soundtrack kind of vibe felt really kind of fitting to what we were going for.
Yeah, that's big ups to Lee Gaze. Lee is the movie lover in the band. I mean, we all love movies, but he's like obsessed.
He watches like a movie or two a day. He's. I remember that was another one where I sat down and I was kind of really into like mono jazz drums at that point, because I grew up listening to like Portishead and everything, and I grew up listening to like DJ Shadow, and I was always into like breakbeats and those kind of things. So I would just sit down and write some piano chords, and then transpose those to keys, and then I was trying to find some kind of like arpeggiator to tie it all together. And then I think I was thinking like Vangelis when I was coming up with the big like
the sirens,
the big
what I call the sirens.
Yeah. So I was trying to really kind of tie in like my love of like soundscapes and everything, and like Geoff will tell you, I'll send him like 20 ideas. You know what I mean? And it'll just be like 8 bars kind of thing. Like it'll be like, here's a full section, here's a quiet section. This is probably the verse, this is probably the chorus. Does it do anything for you? And if it resonates with him, then we'll use it. If it doesn't, we won't. So that's kind of how I write, and I send it to you. Obviously, it resonated, and like for me, it was all about just making. I try to put a lot of like very sparkly, pretty bells in the song to kind of counteract against the dark, menacing, kind of siren call. So yeah, and then obviously the lyrics came next, and that changed the whole feel again. So that's kind of how we do things. We just kind of send stuff around.
Yeah, when Stu sent it to me first with the sirens, that's the thing that I gravitated towards, the noise against the prettiness. Like that's what I love, like the contrast of beauty and destruction, and even going back Thursday and stuff like that. That's different ratios of beauty to destruction, I guess. But when I started putting the vocals down, the chords themselves, I realized underneath had a sort of like a classic, it reminded me of 60s girl groups type of a thing. And I sort of started to think about all the bells in the chorus as like the Phil Spector wall of sound. And so when I started writing the vocals to it, I thought, okay, I'm going to do a call and answer, and one's going to be like all the backup singers doing like, oh, it's a circle. And then it's going to be, the singer with the spotlight in the middle saying like, will it come around? And so then I started building just the vocals around that, and right away Stu was like, I get what you're doing, and he started telling me like, you're missing this layer though. If you want to do that, you got to hit this harmony too, and here's this part. And he's just innately so good at the musical stuff, whereas I'm a little bit more, I just follow an instinct that I have on something. And so together we work really well because he knows what I'm getting at when I'll say something real weird or vague. I'll be like,
I got you.
Yeah. You mean like a minor seventh in the chorus? And I'll be like, yeah, well, it sounds kind of weird, but cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you should ask that. We've been talking about so the first tour we were supposed to do around this record with Cursive got canceled because I fell off the stage and broke my ankle. And then the second one where we actually got out on tour doing our own thing with Jeremy from Sunny Day Real Estate Opening, I got COVID and had to go home.
We all got COVID.
Literally everybody got COVID. Yeah. And it's sort of disastrous, and it's really thrown off. We're supposed to play Trees, and it's thrown off a lot of our live plans for the year. But it also has given us the freedom to start to think about well, hey, if we're not gonna be on tour the moment the record comes out, if we're not gonna be opening for a big band and doing X, Y, and Z, then we've got the freedom to present the music any way we want. So what are some non-traditional ways that we could do this? And we're right now still figuring out the exact dates and stuff, but we've got a couple things that I think are going to be really exciting, and I can't wait.